Hello and welcome to Footy Judge Mode. This is your daily debate. Of course, we're here to discuss Manchester City. We're here to discuss Arsenal, Liverpool. Who can push them all the way? Are Manchester City weaker this year? Or that was just a blip? That was just the first 8 games, 2 games without Rodri. They're going to keep coping. But I'm here with a fantastic guy, one of the best guys out there to discuss everything Premier League, of course. He has been doing watch alongs. He has been doing of course, you know him. He has been doing videos. He has been doing discussions, debate, and everything. But I'm so glad to have him here with me because I've been waiting to do this one-on-one with him because this is going to be an epic episode. But make sure to hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. But you know what it is. It's the one and only, of course. It's the one and only. You know what it is. It's the one and only. This guy has been absolutely fantastic. It's LB, people. It's his own channel now. It's fantastic. God, listen, I'm so happy you're here, man. I'm so happy. How are you feeling?
Mate, fucking buzzing after that introduction. Fucking hell. I think you've got a bit of a knack for hosting, bro. You know what I mean? That was a very good intro. Yeah, nah, bro, I'm all good, man. I'm all good. Keeping healthy, keeping fit, at the gym, eating right, watching a lot more football than I. One of my goals this year, bro, was to watch a lot more. I know, obviously, maybe a lot of people, maybe in the chat don't know me, but obviously previously, I mainly just focused on City. I didn't really watch too much of the football. And when I did, it was mainly Premier League, the big clubs. But one of my goals this year is to watch a lot more football. And it started off all right. We started off all right. So, but yeah, man, I'm all good, bro. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. Watch more football. Talk about because I see you now. You talk a lot about other teams as well. You're knowledgeable about the other teams and the ins and out of this team, how they play, their transfer market. Like I see now, like it's different now. I know when you worked for City Extra, you're more focused on City every day. It's a City now. Of course, guys, listen. I gotta ask you guys something. First of all, let's get to 50 likes right away. But also, it's LB's channel. I don't know. You like me call Lewis or LB?
Either or, bro. Either or. No preference,
Okay,
man.
Lewis's channel is in the title. You don't have to do anything. It's just a link. You click on it. It takes you there. Give him a subscription, a like for his next video or the previous video, and come back chat with us. It's just a link. Simple as that. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do copy paste. Just click the link. But hit that like button. Get us to 50 likes. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. This is a brand new channel. I'm not asking you today for super chats. I'm not asking you for anything. I'm not even monetized yet. I'm gonna try to get your questions in. Just type Q before you put the question, so it catches my eye on the side. But we'll start right away. And I'm gonna ask. Of course, we're gonna be to focus on City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and also Manchester United. And the first thing I always ask my guest: 8 games in, about quarter of the season, 1 game left to be quarter of the season. How do you assess this year for Manchester City?
Uh, I think you'd have to say, based on his history under Pep Guardiola, about where we'd expect to be. We know that City don't usually get off to the most blistering starts in the world. So, to be only 2 points behind the title leaders, Tottenham, we're right up there. I think we're exactly where we want to be. I think, obviously, it is a little bit more disappointing given where we were 2 weeks ago, and we was in a much better position. We was top of the league, and obviously now we've had 2 L's on the bounce. But you can focus on the last 2 weeks if you want to be like that. But ultimately, you asked the question, what's the start like? We've got to look at the full 8 games, and we're currently sitting in third, 2 points behind Arsenal, 2 points behind Tottenham. We're in a good position, and anyone says otherwise is a joker because we've been in this position many times. I think also there's a lot to take from the first 8 games of the season. There's a lot that we can read into. The lack of Rodri, for example, is a bit of an issue. Goals, if we can't create chances for Haaland, who's going to score the goals? This is something that I raised as a problem in the transfer window back in August and July. I said, if Haaland doesn't score, who else is going to score? But there's a lot of other positives. Defensively, we've been pretty solid all season. Gvardiol coming into the squad has looked immense, in my opinion. Jeremy Doku as well, brand new signing, super exciting. 2 wins out of 2 in the Champions League. We're looking good there. So all in all, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of a 10. pretty good, and I'm pretty much where I expected to be, bro. To be honest.
Are you just doing that to sleep well at night? Because 2 losses. Last year, after 19 games, you had 2 losses. You had 2 draws.
Mm-hmm.
Haaland, yeah, scored 8 goals, but if you're looking at the chances created to him, they're different. I'm trying to be not only devil's advocate. I'm a neutral and I'm looking from outside. However, people call I have an agenda against City. I don't have an agenda against City because I hold Manchester City and Pep Guardiola to this level. You know what I mean? Like when you watch Manchester City, I said that the last year at the end of the season, this is the best team I've ever watched in my life, the most effective team, and I've watched in my life, even though it included Jack Grealish. But this year, though, the experience without Rodri isn't there. Of course, Kevin De Bruyne, like I'm gonna count the injuries that the Kevin De Bruyne is injured, Bernardo was injured, John Stone was injured, and it looks like the team is kind of a little bit lack experience, as you said, lack creativity a little bit. Doku is a fantastic player, but still raw, as you can tell. Sometimes he can get rash, like he needs a little bit of time. Phil Foden, kind of like I expected more from him. You had 2 losses already in the league. One of them is worrying, the one at Wolves. I don't think you should be worried about the Arsenal game at all. You know, away from Arsenal are a strong team. But if you're going to tell me that the triple winners, have they progressed or regressed? Looking from outside, I say they have regressed. You sold experience, so much talent. You did not replace them with the same quality. That's what I see in the transfer window. That's what I see. Do you think the replacements are the same quality, apart from Gavardiol, of course? Well, I think you might not have needed Gavardiol, but maybe Laporte, Gavardiol is kind of an upgrade, if you can tell. But everywhere else, is it really an upgrade? Do you think the transfer window has it been really an upgrade?
No. So I would say to your point there that you think that obviously the treble winners last year, right, which we were treble winners,
Yeah.
have we gone backwards? However, I ask you that question. You're just looking at the end point. Well, we're not at the end point. Ask the same question based on the first 4 or 5 months of last year. We was in a diabolical state. If you look at where we were in December, January, we were a mess, Mo. We were a mess. Now you're comparing this current Manchester City team to the treble winners that won in Istanbul against Inter Milan, and the team that won the Premier League, and the team that beat Manchester United in the FA Cup. Well, I say to you, we're not at that point in the season. Manchester City always kick on in the second half of the season. You know that. If you compare this City team now to the City team that was playing in the first 5-6 months, it's not dramatically worse. It's not dramatically worse at all. We was in a real bad state back in, I think it was like December, January, and nobody predicted at that point that we'd go on to win the treble. In fact, not a lot of people even predicted that we might even catch Arsenal in the league, let alone go and win the FA Cup and the Champions League at the same time. So the answers to the other questions, I would say, yes, of course, if you lose Ilkay Gundogan, you are likely to replace him with a worse player. I mean, that is obvious because Ilkay Gundogan is one of the most underrated players of my generation and probably the best German that's ever played in this country, in my personal opinion. And that was a fault of the football club. That was a fault of the football club for not offering him the contract soon enough, and they've made a mistake there. Now, I say to you, Kovacic is not the worst replacement in the world, especially at the price, but he isn't as good as Gundogan. That's a fair sort of comparison. Losing Riyad Mahrez, again, it's going to be very, very difficult to replace a player like Riyad Mahrez, his goals and assists. We've gone for someone young. We could have gone for someone a bit older, someone who maybe hit the ground running a little bit quicker, someone who could guarantee us goals. The club have decided to go in a different way. I can't really moan at that. That's a decision that Pep Guardiola and the club have gone for. They've gone for someone young like a Jeremy Doku. And the Gvardiol has been a fantastic signing, and a signing that not many people out of Manchester City are speaking about. He is going to be a world-class defender, Mo. He has got everything in his game needed to be a top-class
But
defender.
he isn't playing center back. One of my problems is so let me discuss this with you, because you said, because this Gavardio situation is linked to what you just said, Lewis. You just said that we end the season well. Last year, Haaland was scoring tons of goals. Like you turn left, he's scoring goals. You turn right, he's scoring goals. However, the overall of the team was conceding more goals. The overall of the team were not scoring the same amount. And it had to change the system to that box midfield or whatever. But now Pep Guardiola has changed it again this year. We don't play the box again because of injuries or because of this or because of that. So Gavardiol, who's one of the best center backs in the world, is playing as a left back. Well, he is a center back or a left center back in a back three, but I'm convinced he's a left center. He's a left center back next to Diaz. This should be probably the best duo in world football, probably next to Gabriel and Saliba. But now he's changing it to play him as a left back, asking him to move forward. Do you think now every season now we're gonna sit here and Man City fans are gonna sit there, are gonna wait for him to change something or the system to click by January or February? What if Arsenal or Liverpool, you don't catch them? What if they didn't get the injury what if they don't get the injury like Saliba last year? That's the whole point of, you got Gavardiol, but he's playing left back. You got this guy, he's playing there.
But does it matter, though, if he's playing well, Gavardiol, which he is playing very well, and of course we've not been able to play that box midfield because of injuries.
Yep.
So he has to innovate. He has to change the system. He can't just force a formation just because it worked last year. He's got to have the right personnel. And no matter where Gavardiol's played, whether he's played on the left side of a three or left back bombing down the wing, he's been very, very good. He's been very, very good. And going forward, he's linked up well with a couple of players. But again, if you've not got the players available, which we've not, because we've not had John Stones fit, we've not had Kevin De Bruyne fit, we've not been able to play that box four. So he's had to innovate. So I say to you, he's innovated this team again, and we're only 2 points off the top. I don't think that's a particularly bad or worrying sort of thing. And from here, we should only get stronger. John Stones is now back. He got some minutes against Arsenal. Hopefully now he plays some minutes for England to boost his sort of match sharpness. Rodri is now back from suspension, so we might see that come back in. And we're hearing news now that potentially Kevin De Bruyne might come back 2 weeks, 3 weeks sooner than first anticipated. So maybe back end of the year, early January, which would be obviously great news. So listen, I don't think that's particularly anything to worry about, to be honest with you.
So the conclusion from what you said, which is understood, that you don't think you're weaker at all. You think the manager will get it right. The manager will get it right.
No, I don't think that's what I said. I think as a squad we are weaker. Okay. I'm not sitting here delusional. I'm fully aware that the squad is weaker. You know, if you lose Gundogan and replace him with Kovacic, that's a downgrade. If you lose Mahrez and replace him with Doku, that's a downgrade. The only upgrade we've had is Gavardiol for Laporte. Laporte didn't even play last year. But that
I claim another player, actually. Kyle Walker being embedded back in the squad and going back to his best is an upgrade of Kyle Walker of last year. I think him not leaving and playing like this, I'm not sure your opinion about that. Having Kyle Walker back as a captain and him playing every game now is something that people sleep on. People say that because they saw Kyle Walker 2 years ago, they forgot that Kyle Walker last year didn't play as much at the end of the season. But look at him now. Do you think that him being there is something that Man City missed a little bit, or something that it's an extra player added to the team?
Well, Kyle Walker for me is possibly the best right back to ever played football in this country. Well, English right back anyway. I mean, if you look at some of the right backs up there, he's certainly in the conversation. But there's a bit of a myth going round about Kyle Walker last year, saying that he was out of favour, he was out of selection. I mean, if you look at his minutes from, I don't know, say April, 90 minutes. This is all league. 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 36 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes. He played every single game in the run in the Premier League. The only sort of disappointing thing for him probably was, of course, the Champions League, where he was benched in the final. He still played both 90 minutes against Real Madrid, home and away, in the semi-final. So he was benched for the final. And then the FA Cup, he played the full 90 minutes against Manchester United and the full 90 minutes against Sheffield United in the semi-final. So there's a little bit of a myth, actually, about Kyle Walker, about his lack of minutes last year. Yes, it wasn't as much as normal, but he did also have a massive groin injury in the middle, which set him out for, 10 matches. Mm-hmm. But the only real thing that probably pissed him off was the fact that he didn't play in the Champions League final, which I get, of course, that would frustrate him. But in terms of actual minutes, he did play. Having said that, you are right. Kyle Walker started the season well, despite he's actually playing in a different position. If you have a look at his heat map, you can go on SofaScore.
Yeah.
And you can have a look at his heat map from last year, and then have a look at his heat map from this year, and his heat map is completely different. Last year, his heat map was much more center of the pitch, almost inverted slightly, not fully, not like John Stones, inverted
Not a,
into
not a
midfield.
midfielder, but an
Yeah,
inside fullback, like a
just
fullback that defends more. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So back of right side of a three. This year, he's been given much more freedom to go down the wing, which I actually don't particularly like. It's worked for us against Sheffield United. I don't like that, because if he does that, that typically means you don't actually have a right winger, and your right winger then inverts, and I don't particularly like that formation. But he's getting much more freedom down the right hand side. But listen, Kyle Walker's a top player. I think he's got the physique and the sort of how do you say that? The cardiovascular system, if you want, to play
yes.
until like he's 38. I think he could play Premier League football until he's 38, because if he does lose a little bit of pace, play him centre back. He's played there for England. So yeah, listen, he's a special player, and I'm buzzing that he signed a new deal.
100%. So the last thing I wanted to talk about City is Phil Foden and Jack Grealish. We had this discussion, me and you, but people, there's over about 150 of you here, and you guys are embarrassing me in front of Lewis, of course, because you guys have not hit that like button. So get me to 100 likes. There's over 150 of you here. So the like button is crucial to this channel. Is how this channel gonna grow. It's a brand new channel, and we have 150 people. I don't even have 2,000 subs. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, if you like this content. Hit that like button, people, underneath your live chat. Jack Grealish, what is happening? What is going on? He was crucial last year. Is he injured? Is he not fit? Does he not suit the system anymore? Is he out of favor? People are asking a lot of agendas against him. I'm one of them, of course.
Yeah, no.
You know that.
I think Jack Grealish has had a difficult start to the season. He was benched for the first game of the season against Burnley, but then played consecutive 90-minute matches, then picked up a hamstring injury, which then set him back, and he's not managed to get himself into the team since then. So I do think that, again, people are going a little bit overboard with Jack Grealish. He had an injury, and he's just not managed to get himself back into the team since the injury. I do think that he's going to get himself back in at some point. However, I do think that also with Jeremy Doku being signed, it could be a little bit more difficult than it was maybe last year, because last year he was the main guy. You know, Foden wasn't playing left much last year, especially in the second half of the season. So Jack Grealish was there on his own. He only really had Cole Palmer to compete with him, and Cole Palmer's not a left winger, as I said many times. This year he's got Jeremy Doku, and the problem that he's going to have is Jeremy Doku looks like a player that's going to score. Jeremy Doku looks like a player that's going to assist, and whilst Jack Grealish has other things to his game that Jeremy Doku doesn't, i.e. the ability to hold the ball up the pitch really quite high, the ability to win fouls, the ability to track back and defend a lot better than Doku, as we've seen against Fulham, for example, when he gave the goal away there. At the end of the day, if Doku's stats continue to go like this, no matter what you say about Grealish's positives, it's going to be difficult to drop Doku. So, and at this moment in time, for example, I've said that I would be playing Jeremy Doku in this team every single game until Kevin De Bruyne gets back, because he's a player that can score an assist. And at the moment, we're lacking players who can score an assist. So listen, I just think at the moment, a bit difficult for Jack Grealish, but I don't think it's anything necessarily to do with bad performances. For example, the game before he got his injury, he got an assist against Sheffield United. It was a great ball in the box for Erling Haaland, who headed it into the goal, and then just picked up a nasty injury. And we've seen this with loads of players. Sometimes you get injured, you struggle to get back into the team. I'm sure it's just a matter of time for Jack Grealish before he gets back in.
I actually don't think he's good enough to play for Manchester City, even though he won last year. This is just, I've been very consistent about this. So forget me asking the question. I'm being genuinely, in the beginning, last year, me and Daps, Cass, we had this every time, and even Terry, and I'm like, I don't think he's good enough. I think he's been great at Aston Villa. I like him at Aston Villa. I think at Man City, you need a better player. And they're like, yeah, but he holds the ball really well. I'm like, you can get a good player to do the same job, because it's not only about the output and the numbers. It's only on the eye. He doesn't drive against defenders enough. He holds the ball, yes, and praising him for the defensive abilities or defensive this and defensive that in a team, the average about 66% ball position is something I'm not looking at. He can hold the ball and everything, but also you can have better players in this place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I prefer better players. This is just me, and I think Pep Guardiola's system hides flaws. When the machine is working really well, I think this is what nobody. But now, because there's no KDB, if you play Jack Grealish, you're asking him to do something else because there's no KDB. And now you're looking, but you're not doing these things. Yeah, you're holding the ball, passing the ball, drawing fouls, maybe drawing fouls and everything. But I can mold somebody else. You're not special, Jack. That's my point. Like the difference between me and other people, let me just say this, is I'm holding Pep Guardiola and Manchester City to a higher place. So I'm expecting most of the players to be special, to provide something special. And that's what I don't see from Jack. Like I see Doku, as you said, you're like electric, different, special. Riyad Mahrez off the bench or even starting, provide that spark. Phil Foden has the talent to do a Gundogan. But that's what I didn't see from Jack Grealish last year. Like I can pick anybody from that team and I would say, yeah, you provide this, you provide that. Jack Grealish, you don't provide anything special. That is my opinion. And it's not about GA, it's not about output. It's just what I see, to be honest.
Well, what I would say to that then is now we have competition with Jeremy Doku. Last year we had no competition, right? So no matter what your thoughts were on Jack Grealish, last year Jack Grealish was always going to play because he had to play. Unless you wanted to play someone else on there who doesn't really fit it. Now we have Jeremy Doku. If what you're saying is correct, and you don't believe that Jack Grealish is good enough for Manchester City, as long as Pep Guardiola feels that Jeremy Doku is ready for this level of Premier League, this level of Champions League, then Jeremy Doku will play it in that place. What I would say is if Pep Guardiola continues to play Jack Grealish, even though Jeremy Doku looks exciting and is getting goals, getting assists and looking good, I would ask you then to reassess, maybe from fresh, open mind, your views, and maybe just reset the opinion and see if there's something that you're missing. Watch him in different games, watch him against lower league opposition, watch him against higher league opposition, watch him in the Champions League and reassess it. If at the end of that you come to the same conclusion, then fair. But what I would say is if Pep Guardiola continues to stick with him, I would then just say there must be something that you're missing. That seems fair.
Can it just be that he bought an expensive shoes? And I said that about Kai Havertz, and I said that about Mason Mount. Can it just be an expensive shoe that has been bought, and you have to fit your foot in? So you keep trying it. You keep trying it, and the return policy, you're past the return policy, and you have to fit the shoe. It's an expensive
doesn't do that, bro. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. I'll tell you why he doesn't do that. Because last year, Rico Lewis played a load of games when Laporte was available. You know what I mean? Ake plays when Laporte was available.
Laporte is not 100 million, Lewis.
Laporte was what? A good 50,
Laporte was 40. Yeah, but yes, it's different. The Jack Grealish is 100 million pounds. Now, there's other things as well. He's an English sweetheart. People love him. He's one of the faces of the club.
Well, you say people love him. There's a lot of City fans out there who don't particularly like.
Manchester United fan. I've seen Cass try to defend Jack, and I'm like, you're a Manchester United fan. Why are you defending him?
Well, I don't know about that, man. Maybe never a foul is just massively pro Jack Grealish, but there's a lot of City fans out there.
Really? I'd love to meet
as you can see from the chat, there's a lot of people in the chat as well to say that they don't rate Jack Grealish. So I don't think I don't think Pep Guardiola is a manager where he looks at the price tag and goes, "Oh, I have to play him." You know, I don't think he cares about that. I think if he thinks a player is not good enough, I said to you again, the reason that he played last year is because he had to play. There's no one else really that could play.
There was nobody else.
But let's see what happens this year. Jeremy Doku, maybe he'll take that spot.
So I want to move on from City. 23 minutes in, guys. There's over 180 of you here. So give me to 100 likes, you bozos in the chat. Some of you don't want to hit that freaking like. For some reason, you don't like this talk. It's football talk. It's different opinions. Hit that like button. I'm really loving the show. And also, Lewis's channel, It Is LB. Fantastic content. Daily shorts, daily videos, daily lives. You would love his channel. Not only Manchester City, but everything else. All football talk. It's just a link. It's a link in the title. You don't have to open more. You don't have to click anything. You just click on that. It will take you to his channel. Go subscribe and come back. 180 people here. I'm expecting 50 of you that haven't subscribed to HLB to go there. I'm expecting him after this one to have 50 more subscribers to his channel. Do that. Do me a favor and do that. And hit that like button. Get me to 100 likes. And I'm going to continue with this to the Arsenal and Liverpool. And I'm going to start with Arsenal Football Club. We knocked them. We said they're not good enough. We said they're not as fluid. But do you think they are more mature? Do you think the gap has closed, though? Do you think the gap is smaller between them and Man City?
I don't know, bro, because on the pitch, maybe. But it's not necessarily the footballing ability. You know, a lot of people in the chat now don't really get this. Will probably try and cook me. But top ball knowledge, guys, will understand what I'm saying. It's not necessarily.
Listen. Get your notes out right after him. Clip that and do that.
What I'm saying is, I think the quality probably has gone up in terms of like the way that they're playing, but at the end of the day, it's the experience, it's the know-how to get through difficult situations to win leagues. Very rare, right, that clubs go on and just absolutely smash a league. I mean, if you go back and have a look at every single Premier League table since the Premier League started 20 odd years ago, you know, how many times has a club really gone and run away with it? Every single time, usually, I say 90% of the time a club wins it, they have difficult periods, and it's how to get through them. Last year, Arsenal had a difficult period, didn't get through them, and subsequently it cost them the league. They bought good players. You know, they bought Timber, really unfortunate injury. They bought Rice, great signing. But ultimately, it's about how they come through their tough moments. And so far, they've not really had any tough moments. I'm sure that will come later on in the season when the pressure starts. So that's when you'll find out, really, if they've closed the gap to Manchester City, because when they go through them tough moments, boom, they'll bounce back and they'll continue to strengthen. There's no doubt in my mind that the signings that they've made have improved them. I really, really don't understand the Havertz situation. I really, really do not understand that at all. Why
It's
they
a waste
spent
of money, huh? You think it's a waste of money, a waste of £65 million.
I think it's negligent. I think it's a sackable offence to whoever sanctioned that deal. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be outside the Emirates writing, because you had a chance to go and spend that money on somebody that could guarantee to improve your team, and you spent it on Kai Havertz. Like I've said many times, if it's 15 million, 20 million gamble, okay, kind of get it. But 65 million, I just think that's so negligent. I can't believe it. Raya, was that
Right,
necessary?
it was necessary.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a good addition, Mo. What I'm saying is, was that necessary? I know it's a loan, but they've effectively
They have to pay. They have to pay £35 million for it.
they've effectively set aside a money to pay. So let's just say that it's not a loan. They've paid the cash. Could that not have been spent somewhere else? Maybe not. Maybe that was the right thing. I don't think that's something really to discuss. The Havertz one is strange. So listen, I think Arsenal have got another exciting year ahead of them. I'm sure they'll be up there with City for the title race. Whether they've done enough to get through the difficult periods and win the league, time will tell. But they've got to deal with the Champions League. People can say they had Europa League last year. Go and have a look what players played in the Europa League last year compared to the players that were playing in Champions League this year. And then let's talk. But they're looking like a good side. And yeah, I think if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be optimistic, man.
For me, I'm thinking like I thought they're slow in the beginning of the season. I didn't think they are great in the beginning of the I thought they're winning games, but they're scraping results. But I think like after this Man City game, the maturity of the game, the way they approached the game, they didn't just go out and just try to win it with any means. They were patient, they were calm. I thought they were composed. Yeah, in the beginning of the game, you had these couple of chances, and David Raya was sticking to what Mikel Arteta told him, and I credit him for that.
So Mo, let me ask you a question then. So why did
Yes.
Manchester City get slated for doing exactly the same thing? Because we did exactly the same thing as Arsenal. We approached the game with a mature way. We approached the game in a way that we didn't want to get beat, yet we got absolutely cooked. So is it just a case of we just got cooked because we lost off a deflected goal? Is that how basic the conversation is?
Let me explain to you. Number one is that if I'm looking at that game individually, I actually think that Man City lacked a lot of creativity. And when you see Pep Guardiola's teams over the years, so when you see Pep Guardiola's team over the years, you think of creativity, you think of beautiful football, you think of fluidity, you think of many, many ways to approach the goal, which it didn't happen. But also you associate Pep Guardiola's team with strong defense in the last 3-4 years, since Diaz came to the side. So you did achieve that by having a strong defense, but the offensive side of things was not there. You tell me that Arsenal did not have any chances going forward. I actually disagree with you. I thought Arsenal got in the right places, got in the right positions. They didn't take their chances, even though they didn't have a clear-cut chance, if you say. But I thought they got into the right place. Gabriel Jesus tactically on that right side was good. I thought Gvardiol was okay, but I think with Gabriel Jesus was very dangerous. In the second half, when Martinelli came on the pitch, he actually terrorized a little bit of that defense a little bit. He was very direct. And that's why it's all about the difference between how you look at them. Last year, the results is 7-2 for Man City, if you count both games. But then this year, now we're starting the first game. It's a deflected goal or not a deflected goal. At the end, and I heard this in a podcast with someone I really respected their footballing opinion on The Guardian. They said, you question things when they don't work. Like Haaland having 11 passes in the game, being isolated. You're only gonna question that if he doesn't score and the team don't win. Like last year, Haaland had one game, had 8 touches, but had 2 goals. I would never question that. But if he's not involved and he's not scoring goals and the team is losing and the midfield didn't work as much and your second half looked a little bit under the cushion, you looked a little bit nervous, you broke that press 2 times. Now we question it. Do you see my point here? It's you approach the game. You should not approach the game, of course, with all your injuries and stuff. They didn't have Partey. They did not have Martinelli, wasn't starting, wasn't fit. So I'm not going to compare Martinelli to Stones. They did not have Saka, which is based on their fan base and based on every pundit. He is the most important player. So both teams, they didn't have. The problem is you didn't have your most important player in the midfield. But I'm expecting Pep Guardiola to at least create more, to be more, I'm not saying more adventurous, but I thought you had one part of the game and the other part was zilch.
No, I just think that the narrative on the game, I understand it to some degree, is just set by the scoreline. And I like I say, I do understand that to some degree because at the end of the day, Arsenal did win. But I just find it a little bit strange how, like, all credit to Arsenal, they won the game, by the way. What I find strange is, Mikel Arteta come with a game plan.
Tactics.
Yeah, out-tactics Pep Guardiola. Hang on a minute. They both had very similar tactics. Both teams set up not to lose the game. And ultimately, one team won by a deflected shot. The other team lost by a deflected shot. And the team that's being criticised for not doing anything had a higher XG than the team that won and had 2 great chances in the first 3 minutes, albeit that was pretty much it, with a shot cleared off the line and a shot which Ake should have scored every single day. I'm not saying that City deserved to win. I don't think we did. I think a draw was the same result. And all credit to Arsenal. I just find it a little bit strange how the tactics of Arteta were praised when it
because
was...
Arteta is a student. Because Arteta should not come out second half looking better than Pep Guardiola. In Egypt, we have to say that the second half is mostly the coach's half because you saw what happened, and it's all about who can actually counter the other guy. Because at the beginning of the game, you don't know how City will play. You don't know how Arsenal are going to play. In the second half, do you agree that Arsenal's second half looked better than Man City?
Of course, yeah, no problem. Again,
so that's the whole point of Arteta out-tacticing Pep in the second half.
Which I don't really disagree with. Out tactics, I don't know. I think he just thrown on Martinelli. I think Martinelli should have got the plaudits, not Arteta, if I'm being honest. I think Martinelli, as soon as I seen him coming on, I thought, shit. You know what I mean? I think he was the one, really. I think, again...
I thought Odegaard was higher on the pitch. I thought Gabriel Jesus was higher on the pitch. I thought Rice was different. I think they opened up a little bit. They pressed higher on the pitch.
Probably
they pressed the right players.
I think that was mainly. I think that was mainly due to the fact that maybe Martinelli was causing us so many problems. He was the one that changed that game. He scored the goal, obviously deflected, but they looked a lot better up until that point. They probably looked slightly better, but it was Martinelli who changed the game. Let's make no mistakes about that. Can credit
who put Martinelli on? Who changed?
Oh yeah, come on, Mo. Like fucking I could have managed Arsenal. I would have put Martinelli on.
Who changed the position of Odegaard on the pitch? Who did this? Who?
Yeah, but it was Martinelli. Martinelli was the one who changed that game.
You don't want to give Arteta any credit.
I give him credit. I'm just saying I think he's getting a little bit too much credit. For me, if I'm the pundit, I'm saying where's the credit going? I'm giving the credit to
the player.
To Martinelli. He's the one that changed the game. Now you can say, well, who put him on? Fucking hell, he's one of the best players. Let's not pretend that he's a gem out the academy that he found last week and was like,
can I ask you something else? Because I was going to ask this. Who asked Tomiyasu to be the highest guy on the pitch on an attack for Arsenal that was built from the back? That's a coach's instructions. I'm sorry if you see Gavardiol, the one that is seriously, Lewis, you're trying to take the credit from Arteta.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not trying to take that. What I'm trying to do is redirect the credit to where I think it deserves, and that is to Martinelli.
What about Havertz occupying the 2 defenders and winning long balls and lumping it to the big guy?
Well done.
No,
bro. There's only so much credit I can give. You know what I mean? I'll give the credit to where I think. I'll give credit for Arteta for doing the tactical changes to make the substitute. I think the 3 subs or 4 subs, whatever it was at the time, I think he got spot on, right? But ultimately, the player that won that game was Martinelli. And I'm not giving massive credit to Arteta for putting Martinelli on when Martinelli is one of their best players. Like, that's just a fact. If I'm giving credit, I'm giving it to Martinelli. He changed the game, I knew he was going to be a problem when he come on. You go have a look at my watch along. When the substitution was made, I was like, oh shit, here we go. And Martinelli cooked us. From soon as he come on, from that second he entered the football pitch, he caused us major issues. I've said it before. I think Martinelli's a better player than Saka. I would rather Saka be on the pitch than Martinelli.
Do you want to see are you seeing the chat? Guys, spam the chat salt for Lewis.
How is it salt? I don't get why I'm salty.
Spam the freaking chat
why
with
am I salty?
I have 220 people here. I want to see the salt in the chat.
Why?
Oh my God, everybody's saying you're salty.
Why am I salty? I don't get it.
It's not me, bro.
I don't get why I'm salty. I'm literally giving credit to one of their best players. I think he ruined us when he come on. He caused us major issues. And I give credit to Arteta. I just don't give as much credit to Arteta as other people. If you want to give all the credit to Arteta, okay, well then you can't be giving credit to all the credit to Martinelli. I'm a fan of the players on the pitch. I'm a point that managers can only do so much. If you want to give credit to Arteta for everything that he did, fair. And I've just done that. But for me, in my opinion, you should be redirecting most of your praises and roses to Martinelli, because he was the player. He was the danger.
Fine. Yeah. I want to move on from that game, because I actually don't think that game will affect Manchester City season at all, by the way. At all.
Not do I. This is another thing, bro. Like
I think like this game is just whatever, 3 points. But for Arsenal though, which is what we're talking about, it's massive. It's a hurdle that they have never done over the past 8 years. Some of these players, they never won against Man City, never even had a point. Even most of them never had a point against Manchester City. And for them to win that game, I think will give them confidence. I think it will change their season. And people want to talk about Declan Rice. I thought Jorginho was amazing in this game. I thought Saliba is great this game. Declan Rice was great as well. But I think this will change their season. So the last thing about Arsenal, I want to ask you, why do you think Arsenal won't win the league? But before you do that, there's over 225 of you here. Can we get the likes to 150 people? Subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button if you're here. The like button is so important. Underneath your live chat, hit that like button for me. It's important for this channel to grow that you like this video, because otherwise people are not going to see it. When I'm not going to be able to get new audience here if you don't like the video. Why do you think? You can give me an answer. Why do you think Arsenal won't win the league?
The reason I think they won't win the league is because I think that I just don't think they've got the squad for it, to be honest. They've got the Champions League that they're having to deal with. And again, it's really funny, man, because Arsenal fans will be like, we had the Europa League last year. I actually feel like some Arsenal fans didn't even watch Arsenal in the Europa League last year. Because I said to you this, go and have a look at the players that played in the Europa League for Arsenal last year. Go and have a look at the top 10 players played by minutes for Arsenal in the Europa League last year, and then come and talk. They're going to have to play the Sakas, the Martinellis, the Odegaards, these players in the Champions League, and then go again on the Sunday. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. Obviously, it's not. City have done it. Many teams have got to late stages in the Champions League and still won the Premier League. I just don't know if they've quite got the squad for it. I also think it was a major error not buying a striker. I think it's a major error. And I'm obviously hearing now that there's rumours going around that Arsenal are in for Ivan Toney. I think there's they need to do that. For me, I think that would be a mad signing if Arsenal sign that. I think it would be a great signing for them. Even if you have to spend 60 mil, boom, that go and get him, get something different. I don't think Gabriel Jesus is good enough to lead a team to a title, to be honest with you. This is a player that I've seen at my club for a few years, and obviously I've seen him last year at Arsenal. Just don't think he's clinical enough, but he's not a bad striker. And to have him and Ivan Toney, I think that's a great option. And they probably need to look at someone who can play on the right hand side as well for Saka. So I just don't think they've quite got the squad for it. I don't think they're a million miles away, though. And that's a little bit of a problem, because I don't think they're that far away. I think one or two players, I think they could probably do it. But I just don't think they've quite got enough, which is why I said earlier, is why I'd be so fuming if I was an Arsenal fan with the signing of Havertz. And the Arsenal fans will be like, oh, he got the assist against you guys last weekend. Mint, great. But other than that, I don't particularly think that he's good enough for Arsenal, especially at 65 million. And if it was me, I would have redirected that 65 million to a different player somewhere else on the pitch.
Yeah, I said that. I said that 60. I actually said that, and people said, no, you don't know. I said, You're really gambling 65 million on a guy, hoping that he will rediscover a form that he had in Germany 4 seasons ago. You're really risking that. And I'm like, there's too much money to be risked. That's about more than
Exactly.
30% of your budget that you spend this summer. You could have had a striker. You could have had a replacement for Xhaka, an actual 8, because you don't have an actual 8 on the squad. You have DMs and you have attacking mids. You have Fabio Vieira, Emil Smith-Rowe, Odegaard, and you have Rice, Partey, Jorginho. DMs. You don't have a Gundogan. You don't have someone who is an actual number 8 that can crash the box. Xhaka last year had 7 goals, 7 assists in the Premier League only. That's massive output for a number 8. You didn't replace that. Instead, you went and spent 65 million on someone who you actually, until now, game week 8, you have no idea where he plays. You have no idea what's his position.
Which again,
and people say, yeah, but look at him. He wins duels. The fuck the duels. What duels my ass? There's other people to win duels. You need a player to score goals. You need players to get assists. What duels? You're Arsenal Football Club. It's the same as Manchester United fans praising Anthony for his defensive attributes. I'm like, what? You bought a winger for 80 million to praise him for tracking back and tackling.
Yeah, again, I just think it was the listen, I don't know. Maybe Havertz will work. The problem for me was the price. If it was 20 million,
it's too much to gamble with.
Correct. And that's the thing that must be frustrating from an Arsenal point of view. It's not the fact that they've signed Havertz, because, like you said, Havertz done good in Germany. And I don't think by the way, I don't think he's as shit as some people make out. I do think there's a little bit of Harry Maguire syndrome going on here with Havertz, where people just roast him to the point of where it's like, you're going too far. You know what I mean? I don't think he's as bad as people have made out, but he's not as good as where Arsenal need him to be. And that's the problem. The fee was the issue. If it was 20 million, I get it. And in fact, I'd probably back it at 20 million. Like you said, 30% of the transfer budget being spent on him? That's where, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be like, that's a bit dead.
I want to move to Liverpool, but I want to address 2 comments because they catch my eyes and they absolutely gave me headache. One of them is Sky's doing what he's asked to do. You guys are praising mediocrity. You guys are making whatever makes you sleep at night. Whatever makes you sleep at night. Because we can do this game. We can do that. Yeah, he's doing what he's asked to do. But that's not the reality. The reality is you need better, right? And the second thing is but Calvin Phillips was 45 million. If Lewis speaks about Calvin Phillips, you will understand his frustration as well. It's the same. It's the same.
By the way, I never wanted Calvin Phillips at Manchester City anyway. I never thought it was good enough. I thought the hype was way too much when we signed him. So yeah, and look how that proved out to be not very good. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, moving on to Liverpool. Moving on to Liverpool, and to be honest, I don't know. It's like they're not my. There's some people's favorite teams to challenge Man City. I don't understand why. I actually don't know why. I'm not sure about your opinion. What do you think Liverpool are actually the team that can win the Champions League? You give reasons why Arsenal might not win the league, but Liverpool, do you think they're closer to Man City? Do you think the gap is closer? Do you think Liverpool, for whatever reason, people say they know how and know when and how and do all of this shit? Do you think this is actually the reality that they're closer to Manchester City?
I don't know, man. I do flip-flop on Liverpool a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
same them. Here, I swear. I do the same.
I gotta say, bro, I don't think so. No. Listen, this is where I'm at with Liverpool. I think their attack is outstanding. I think their attack is out of this world, and it will win them games where they've been poor. I.e., look at something like Newcastle away, where they had 10 men, and Almiron hit the post. Alisson made some big saves. Yet Núñez, with his finishing, wins them the game. They didn't deserve to win that game. They didn't deserve to probably get a point out of that game. Don't matter when you got players like that. Salah's, who is one of the best players this country's ever seen. Núñez, class. Diaz, electric. Then you got players like Jota in behind him. Gakpo. Listen, they'll win games that they don't deserve to win. But ultimately, I do feel that their midfield isn't good enough. I feel that the lack of a DM is going to cost them any chance of winning the league. Obviously, they went for Caicedo, didn't get him. And obviously, we all know what happened with Lavia, didn't get him as well. I don't know if Lavia would have been the solution. I think he probably would have been a bit too young.
Not for me. Too young.
Not too young, not experienced enough. He probably would have helped him, but wouldn't have given exactly what they need. And I think you need to have honest conversations about some of the defenders. To be honest with you, Robertson, what's going on with him? I remember when we used to play Liverpool, right? And Robertson used to be a horrible bastard. And I say that with the most respect possible, in the sense that you never wanted to see him on the pitch, man, because you knew he'd be a problem defensively. He'd be all over you. And actually going forward, he was pretty good. Trent, we all know his defensive frailties. He can defend well for a couple of weeks, but ultimately he's not a good defender, right? So he's going to cost you goals.
But that's why they need a DM to cover him, because he's
Exactly.
one of the good guys going forward.
No, exactly. And I would also say, again, Van Dijk, he will have good games now and again, but ultimately he has dropped off since the injury. And I always say, I never like to say that, because ultimately his career has dipped because of an injury, and that was horrendous. And the tackle, we all know about that. It was ridiculous. But again, he's not looking after player as he used to. So they've got defenders who, I mean, like I say, Van Dijk isn't a player that you immediately need to replace. He's just not as good as he was. You've got no DM. Robertson's looking a bit iffy. Trent can't defend, and I know people will say, well, he inverts now, and he had a couple of good games defensively. Ultimately, yeah, he can have a good couple of games defensively, but ultimately he will always cost you at some point. So I just think their defence, I mean, Sir Alex Ferguson, right, I don't like quoting the guy that much, but he said, attack win your games, defence win your titles. And I just don't think that Liverpool have the defence or DM to win the league. But I think that they will certainly get top four, which of course is a lot better than last year, missing out Champions League. And maybe in the summer they can spend some money and get a DM. The problem for them is, of course, Mo, is in the summer, Saudis are going to come knocking again for Mo Salah. And I tell you, if he leaves, bro, that is disastrous for Liverpool, because you can't on one hand as a Liverpool fan say, Mo Salah this, Mo Salah that, Mo Salah everything, and then say, oh, but if he leaves, he'll be fine.
But he has to go.
Well, yes, he probably does. I mean, he probably will.
Because of the money,
exactly.
If you ask anybody from Manchester City, that amount of money, 10 times your wages. Okay, I don't want, because people call me a Liverpool hater when I said it's 10 times your wages. I'll be an ungrateful guy if I say this player shouldn't go. Yeah, yes, he signed a contract and everything, but come on, he's 32 years old now. He's gonna be 32 by the end of the season. Come on, but anyway, I think I don't know who they're gonna replace him with, but I think he's the talisman for them. Without him, I can see why Liverpool fans are saying he cannot leave. Without him,
well,
they lose like 50% of the offensive side of their game. 50%.
The problem the problem they've got is, of course, in the summer, I think he's got 1 year left on a deal. So you can force him to stay. First of all, will he want to stay? Don't know. Maybe because they're in the Champions League, he might have one last hurrah, but then you're going to leave him on a free transfer. Liverpool are not the most rich club in the world. Are they really going to let him go on a free transfer? Because even though he's only got 1 year left on his deal, I'd be surprised if he got anything less than 110, 125 for him, even with his age, because he's that good. So they've got, listen, I think Liverpool will be okay this season. I think they'll get top four. I think they'll have a good crack at the Europa League, domestic cup competitions, great. But ultimately, their growth and their optimism may be stunted, maybe in the summer, with what happens to Mo Salah.
Yeah. Listen, there's over 250 of you here. We reached that number, which is a good number for my channel, but I need you guys to hit that like button. I need to see 200 likes. People, the like button is so important, and you hate me asking you every 5 minutes, but this is the only way this channel will get more viewers, will get more subscribers. Come on, hit that like button for me. Close the chat on your cell phone, hit that like button, and come back chat with me if you're on your laptop underneath the video. But Liverpool, though, in my humble opinion, I think that Liverpool actually are good enough to hold it until January. Let me just put it this way, to hold it until January. And in January, it's all about the ownership and Jurgen Klopp. Can you go and splash 70 million for a Paulinia? Can you go splash 60 million for a DM? Can you take that risk and splash it on a DM? And now, context, listen, if they can go toe-to-toe with Man City to the end of the league, like 35 games, anything can happen. We know that. Anything can happen. An injury might change the course of the season. A decision can change the course of the season. We know that for sure, especially that Man City play in the Champions League and Liverpool don't. So Man City, comes the end of the season, you will have to play your first team. And you don't have that. People have this myth about Manchester City that you have the deepest squad in the league. You focus on 14, 15 players, 16 players max, but that's it. People just forget that Man City last year, I counted, you had 16 good players and one of them was injured, which is Foden, if you remember. Most of the from I think March or February until April, Foden was injured. So I think Liverpool, they just hold it until January. Van Dijk look okay. I disagree with you that he looks shaky. I think he looks a little bit better than the couple of last seasons. Mo Salah looked better than last season. Luis Diaz is back. The problem is it shows the DM. So if Jurgen Klopp can hold it until January and you go get a DM, I think they'll be all right, because McAllister don't look the best in that DM spot, in my opinion. He's wasted there. He's not a defender. People just walk past him like he doesn't exist. Like Wolves open streets in that middle of the park at Liverpool. So I'm echoing what you say, but I think they have enough now after 8 games to hold it until January. I keep changing my opinion, but also every time I'm seeing them, they come back because their offensive side is absolutely. I think their offensive side will outscore anybody if they are in form, and they are in form at the moment.
I don't disagree. I think that, like I say, their attack is class. And by the way, just to sort of maybe clarify, I don't know whether I misspoke. I don't think Van Dijk has fell off. But the point that I'm making is he's nowhere near the levels that he was pre-injury, and
yeah, of course, yeah,
he doesn't look as solid at the centre back position as he did pre-injury. And ultimately, again, they are going to have to start thinking about potentially a replacement for him in the coming seasons. And I'm doing it now with Kevin De Bruyne. People can bury their head in the sand. That's what a lot of fans do when we get these great players. You'll see Liverpool fans do it with Salah. Oh, we won't leave. He'll sign a new deal. Right, whatever. That's burying your head in the sand. The same with Van Dijk. I'm not doing that. I'm not one of those fans. I'm a fan that looks at the team, looks at players who are key, looks at their ages and starts to think. So I'm already doing it now with Kevin De Bruyne. On my channel, I'm having weekly to 2 weekly discussions about who's going to replace Kevin De Bruyne. Why? Because you don't want to be in a position where all of a sudden they leave and then you've got no one in. So that's just quickly a point I'll just clarify on Van Dijk.
Yeah. So the last part, I don't want to keep you for long. Is Manchester United awkward conversation? Look, because the reason why I put that in the title, because yesterday I was sitting down and I was thinking about it, like, has the ties changed forever? Is this it?
Well,
has Manchester blue forever now? Because listen, with all due respect, you are from Manchester. I actually did not know that the other team in Manchester is that big. I thought, because when I started watching the Premier League 2003, I don't think you were anywhere near the map. So now I'm looking at it, the new generation coming in. Yes, Manchester United, the globally, they're a big brand and everything, but it's all Manchester City winning. Is there a way back to Manchester United? Is it only about the ownership? What if the ownership don't change? That's the if. By the way, that's the if that no Manchester United fan want to think about. All they say is that if we change the ownership, we'll be fine. But what if you don't change ownership? What if the Glazers stay and still a minority of the club? What happens then?
Well, yeah, I mean, United are in. Let's just be honest, they're in the shit, right? Let's just go through some of the problems they've got. Their stadium is in need of serious renovation. I'm not talking a few new glass panels in the windows. I'm talking everything. Everything about that stadium almost needs to be gutted. That's why there's some suggestions from some United fans to say knock it down, build a brand new one, because there's so much to do. Their training ground is completely outdated. Evidence, Viva Ronaldo, as they say. Listen to what he said when he left. What else have you got? You've got the board is just shambolic. There's no leadership there in the board. Like, there's no hierarchy. You ask City fans, we can tell you what guy on the board. We got so many board members, and we know what they all do, and they do it to a good degree. United, who's running the show there? Who's running the show? Who is the man who is responsible for everything? And then you've got the manager, who I have serious doubts about. Ten Hag, I don't personally think he's good enough to manage Manchester United. I don't think people recognise the huge job that is required at Old Trafford. What evidence is there to support that this guy is that man? You look at the players on the pitch, not good enough. You look at splits in dressing rooms, ridiculous. You look at so many issues off the pitch with the players, and that could be unlucky, right? That could just be unlucky. Is it unlucky, or is there something about the culture that maybe, I don't know, something dodgy there? So yes, there's so much wrong with the football club, and I would agree. I don't think United will ever get back to where they are unless they get a new owner, because it needs. It's a couple of good years in the Premier League, a couple of good seasons in the Champions League ain't going to change it. The whole structure, the whole culture of the football club needs to change. That takes a long time. That takes 5, 6, 7 years of players in, players out, stability with the management, stability with the board, fans knowing what's going on, a brand new training facility, a brand new upgrade on the stadium. Everything has to be changed.
Can I counter that?
Of course.
Okay, so Ange Postecoglou came to Spurs, and we see how they are right now. Do you think there is any? Do you think there's any manager at least can fix it on the pitch until the ownership? Like Ange Postecoglou, out of nowhere, we saw Spurs are done. Harry Kane situation, all this shit. Daniel Levy, all the trash that they're doing, and Ange Postecoglou now they look like a football club. If you had no idea what happened to Spurs last year, if you're just born now to football and you watch Spurs, you think this is a very stable club. That Daniel Levy isn't speaking out of his ass anymore this year. There is no news around the club. Everything is calm in the dressing room. They look like a family now. They're playing good football. So you think that is there any manager that at least can fix it on the pitch?
Okay, so let me answer that, right, with the greatest of respect to the world, to Tottenham, and to show you that I am not just mocking here. United are one of the biggest clubs in world football. Some might say the biggest. The difference about going into Tottenham, where there aren't really any expectations to win on the pitch, you know, and going into Manchester United, where there isn't just an expectation, there's a demand that you must win. It's different, man. I'm sorry, that is a different situation. So you could get in a De Zerbi.
Pep Guardiola.
No. So listen to this. You could get in a De Zerbi at Manchester United at Old Trafford, right? Playing nice football, everyone's happy and shit. But ultimately, if he doesn't win, that's not good enough. That's not good enough, and that's the problem. But to be able to support constant winning, you need, that's what I'm talking about, the structure of the football club. You think Pep Guardiola could have done what he did at Manchester City without the support of the board, without the wonderful facilities, without, you know, everything has to combine to make a good environment. You know, he was only at Barcelona, 3 years? He was at Bayern Munich 3 years. And now he's at Manchester City, 7 years? There's a reason. It's because the culture, because everything about the club supports him being there. He thinks about leaving every year probably. And he probably thinks to himself, why to leave? This is the best place in the world football to be as a coach. If you go to Manchester United, you're not having that same thought process. Ten Hag probably thinks on a weekly basis, I fucking wish I didn't take this job. Do you know what I mean? Because it's toxic. The whole environment is toxic. So for me, what you need to do is to have long-term, okay, so there's two things. One, can you get better on the pitch and can you win trophies? Yes. But I believe that could only be possible in this current situation, this current structure for short term. And Mourinho proved that to a certain degree. Did very well in the Premier League, finished second. And in fact, he said that was his best achievement, I think, in domestic
He won
football.
the Europa League.
And he won the Europa League. I think he won like a couple of domestic cups. So short term, absolutely, the answer to the question is yes. Manchester United can have success because they spend money. They've got money to spend. And with the right coach, they can win things. But medium to long term, I don't believe it's going to be possible anymore without the new manager. That's without the new ownership.
Yeah,
anyway, because it's the ownership, it's the board, it's everything that
everything goes down. Everything goes down, so that you're at the end, the employer is not well, so nobody's gonna be all right at the club. I believe that as well. I know I can see that happening. But yeah, people, thank you so much for watching us. Thank you so much for LB. Of course, make sure to check his channel. It's in the title. Maybe you click on it, you'll go subscribe, you come back. But before you do that, make sure to like the video. We have still 250 people here. We're almost an hour in. I need to see 200 likes. The like button is so important. But I want to ask you something else. After this video is done, I want each and every one of you to just make a comment after the video. Not in the live chat, just a comment. Say whatever you want. Say we're deluded. Say he's salty. Say I'm deluded. Say I'm delusional. Just put in a comment after, and also suggestions are really welcome on this channel. Thank you, Lewis, for being here. Absolutely fantastic chat with you.
Yeah, great
show, bro. I really appreciate you being here, man. I really appreciate you being here. And everybody watching us, thank you so much for watching us. I'm back at 9 with Don to talk Chelsea, talk Man United, and he has receipts. So make sure to turn on that notification bell for me to know when I go live tonight, 9 p.m. UK time. Thank you, everybody, for watching us. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon. And we're out.